Hey guys, what's going on? So when I first started my coding journey, a lot of people were like, you sure you're gonna be good at that? Do you really want to do that? It's just gonna be another one of those things that you just do and drop, Michael. And for about a month, I thought they were right. Even though I'd started and decided this is what I wanted to do, the entry barriers are there, man. Like the first month or so of coding is rough. It's rough. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat that for you. It's rough. And it can be demoralizing sometimes. And then pair that with the fact that if you're like me, I had doubts about it forever. Like, it's always something that I've been interested in, but I would always manage to talk myself out of it. And there was a few reasons why, One, I sucked at math. Like in high school, I was not a mathematician. I was not a mathlete. I actually took a math models class. Like after, I think it was, instead of algebra 2, you could take math models, I took math models, which is just like harder geometry. So by no means am I a math expert. And I thought coding, when you think about it and you see it in the movies and the videos, you think it's just tons of math and equations. And granted, some sides of the computer science can be. If you ask me to invert a binary tree, I'm probably gonna get stuck and have to Google it. But as far as what I'm interested in the web development field, math helps. For sure. It definitely helps to have a good understanding of math and be better at math, but it's not completely necessary. You can do things without, knowing very complex equations. Now, as far as interviews go, math skills are definitely a plus. But yeah, I'm 4 months in now, and my lack of math skills hasn't really hindered anything. As long as you can do basic math, you're okay for the most part. So don't let your lack of math skills keep you from getting into coding if that's what you want to do. Just give it a try. Another hurdle that I was facing was my age. You look at all these young kids starting up in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, and they're just like these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids just firing off, experts at coding, been coding since they were 8. You can't help but to think that you're behind, right? You're behind somebody like that. I'm old now. My brain's not the same, I don't learn at the same rate that kid does. I don't have as much free time in my day as that kid does. I have to work and, support my family and stuff. So that was another thing. I was like, man, I'm too old to get into that. I don't have time. But with anything, when you start learning it, it becomes easier to learn. That might not make sense right now, but if you can set aside just a little bit of time every day and just learn. It can be like 15 minutes at first, 20 minutes, 30 minutes even. Nothing crazy. Just set aside that time every day for learning. Do that for a consistent period of time and learning gets easier. My first month was rough. It was hard. But now, I'm excited when I stumble across a new wall or a new barrier and I have to learn something and figure out how to fix it. I've learned how to learn. And if anything, I'm more effective at learning things now than I was in high school, because I understand the importance of learning it. And then there was also the big decision I had to make whether or not to go to school. Now, as a lot of you guys know, I did apply to a college and got accepted, and I was gonna start a computer science program there, but I had to do so many basics that had pertained to nothing to the actual computer science field. Even though I already have a bachelor's in business administration, I still had to go back and do all these basic level class. That would have took 6 months, like a whole semester of doing basic classes, just to get into the computer science portion. I'm already 30, right? So I figured I'd rather just spend that 6 months jumping into the code and learning from there. So I made a choice to go self-taught over school. Now, you don't need school to learn code, that's for sure. And I hear you don't need school to get a job, but I can't speak on that part yet. I'm still teaching myself, I'm still learning, and I chose not to go to school for it, so I'll see if that pays off later or not. And then of course there were some frivolous reasons, like I didn't have a Mac. Everybody has a Mac when they code. Every time I watch a coding video, they have like those little 3 dots up there for Safari, I think it is. I don't even know what the Mac does. I didn't have one of those. But you don't need a Mac, dude. You can I code on my gaming PC right now. Same thing. That wasn't an issue. That was easy to talk myself out of it. But one of the biggest things I had to come to terms with, I would tell myself I didn't have time. That I didn't have the time to learn how to code. And if you say that, it's true. If you tell yourself you don't have time to do something, you won't have time to do something. But if you just try to make time for something, and you can set the bar extremely low. You can say, hey, I'm gonna code for 5 minutes today. If you can do that consistently, then each day you're setting aside the time. And then from there it starts to snowball. The 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes one day, maybe 15, and then you'll stop thinking about how long you're coding for because you've already set the time up to get to your computer and start the coding. So the time takes care of itself if you're willing to make time for it. You'll find time. As crazy as that sounds, if you make time, you'll find time. So those are probably some of the biggest things that even kept me from learning in the first place, right? Like this was before choosing a language and being overwhelmed by that. These things like just mentally blocked me from even thinking I could learn code. So if you're facing any of these issues, if you're like me, man, don't even pay any attention to any of that stuff. If it's something you want to try, just get out there and try it. Have fun. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up there. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't already at the TH3 Mike White, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.